What's up everyone? Welcome to 90 Day Fiancé latest news updates. Every love story has a beginning, but not every beginning is gentle. Some begin in chaos, in misunderstanding, in emotional storms that test the very core of two people trying to find their way to each other. For Matt and Jasmine, their journey played out under the unforgiving spotlight of 90 Day Fiancé was never meant to be simple. It was raw, complicated, and at times painfully public. Yet, against expectations and despite the odds, their story did not end in heartbreak. Instead, it evolved into something deeper, quieter, and far more meaningful: a family. When viewers first met Matt and Jasmine, their relationship seemed fragile, strained by cultural differences, personal insecurities, and the relentless pressure of reality television. Conversations often turned tense. Trust was tested. Emotions spilled over in ways that made audiences question whether love alone could sustain them. Social media buzzed with opinions, some sympathetic, others harsh, predicting an inevitable collapse. And for a while, it seemed those predictions might come true. Behind the cameras, however, there was more than what audiences saw. There were late-night conversations away from production crews, moments of vulnerability that never made it to air, and quiet decisions made without applause or validation. Matt, often perceived as reserved, wrestled with his own fears of failure and responsibility. Jasmine, outspoken and emotionally expressive, struggled with feeling understood and secure in a relationship that demanded constant compromise. Together, they stood at a crossroads where walking away felt easier than staying and fighting. The storm they endured was not a single event, but a series of emotional waves: miscommunication, unmet expectations, and the weight of public judgment. Every disagreement felt magnified, every flaw dissected by strangers who believed they knew the full story. Yet, in the midst of that storm, something unexpected happened. Instead of drifting further apart, Matt and Jasmine began to change, not for the cameras, not for approval, but for each other. Growth did not arrive dramatically. It came slowly, almost imperceptibly, through accountability and reflection. Matt learned to speak more openly, to step into emotional spaces he once avoided. Jasmine learned to soften without losing her voice, to trust without surrendering her independence. These changes did not erase their past conflicts, but they reshaped how they faced them. The storm did not disappear. They simply learned how to stand together within it. Then came the moment that would redefine everything. The arrival of their daughter marked a turning point unlike any other. Parenthood has a way of rearranging priorities, stripping away ego and fear until only what truly matters remains. For Matt and Jasmine, becoming parents was not just a milestone, it was a revelation. In the quiet moments of holding their child, the noise of the past faded. Arguments that once felt insurmountable suddenly seemed small. What replaced them was a shared purpose, a responsibility that neither took lightly. Their daughter became the living symbol of resilience, proof that something beautiful can emerge from struggle. In her presence, Matt and Jasmine found a version of themselves they had not known before. Matt discovered a gentler strength, a steadiness grounded in protection and care. Jasmine found a deeper calm, a sense of belonging rooted not in validation but in unconditional love. Together, they began writing a new chapter, one no longer defined by turmoil, but by intention. Celebrating their forever moment was not about grand gestures or public declarations. It was about acknowledgement, an understanding that forever is not promised by words alone, but earned through perseverance, forgiveness, and growth. The moment they shared with their daughter was quiet, intimate, and profoundly symbolic. It was a declaration not just of love, but of survival, of choosing each other again after everything that tried to pull them apart. For fans who followed their journey from the beginning, this chapter felt almost surreal. The couple, once defined by conflict, now stood united by family. The same relationship, once criticized for its volatility, had transformed into one rooted in patience and responsibility. It served as a reminder that reality television captures moments, not destinies. People evolve beyond their edits. Stories continue long after the cameras stop rolling. Matt and Jasmine's journey challenges the idea that love must be perfect to be real. Instead, it suggests that love can be messy, loud, and deeply flawed and still endure. Their forever is not a fairy tale ending, but something far more authentic. A commitment shaped by experience, strengthened by hardship, and sealed by the presence of their child as they step forward into this new phase of life. The storm that once defined them no longer controls the narrative. It exists only as a reminder of how far they've come. What lies ahead is not guaranteed to be easy, but it is shared and that makes all the difference. As Matt and Jasmine settled into life as parents, reality began to unfold in ways no television storyline could ever fully capture. Parenthood did not magically erase their differences, nor did it silence every lingering insecurity from the past. Instead, it introduced a new rhythm, one filled with sleepless nights, quiet sacrifices, and moments of overwhelming responsibility. Yet within that exhaustion, something profound took root. They were no longer navigating life as two individuals trying to stay afloat in a turbulent relationship. They were navigating it as a team. The early days with their daughter were marked by adjustment. Matt, once cautious and emotionally guarded, found himself stepping into a role that demanded presence rather than perfection. He learned that strength did not always mean having answers, but showing up consistently and patiently. Jasmine, whose emotions had once been portrayed as volatile, revealed a depth of tenderness and resilience that surprised even those closest to her. Motherhood sharpened her sense of purpose, grounding her in a way that nothing else ever had. Together, they faced the realities that many couples encounter away from cameras but rarely discuss openly. Financial pressures, shifting dynamics, and the challenge of balancing personal identity with parental responsibility all surfaced. There were moments of frustration, moments of doubt, and moments when old habits threatened to resurface. But this time, the stakes were different. Every decision carried weight beyond themselves. Every argument ended not in pride, but in reflection. Public perception, however, lagged behind their growth. For some viewers, Matt and Jasmine remained frozen in the versions seen on screen, defined by conflict and controversy. Online commentary continued, often dismissive of the progress they had made behind closed doors. Yet the couple made a conscious choice to step back from the noise. Validation from strangers no longer mattered as much as peace within their home. The life they were building did not require approval. It required effort. Their forever moment, when it came, was not staged for headlines. It unfolded naturally in the quiet understanding that they had survived something together and emerged stronger. It was a realization that love is not measured by how loudly it is proclaimed, but by how steadily it is lived. In celebrating that moment with their daughter, Matt and Jasmine honored not just their present happiness, but every difficult step that led them there. The symbolism of that moment resonated deeply. Their child represented continuity of future shaped, not by past mistakes, but by lessons learned. For Matt, it was a chance to redefine the kind of partner and father he wanted to be. For Jasmine, it was reassurance that vulnerability does not equate to weakness, and that emotional honesty can coexist with stability. Together, they discovered that forever is less about certainty and more about commitment. As time passed, their relationship took on a quieter confidence. They laughed more easily. They listened more carefully. Disagreements no longer escalated into emotional standstills, but became conversations rooted in respect. This evolution did not happen overnight, nor was it without setbacks. But each challenge reinforced what they had already learned. The storm had changed them, but it had not broken them. In many ways, their journey reflects a reality that resonates far beyond television. Love, especially under pressure, is rarely linear. It bends, stretches, and sometimes nearly breaks. What defines its survival is not the absence of conflict, but the willingness to grow through it. Matt and Jasmine's story stands as a reminder that redemption in relationships is possible. Even when the world expects failure, their daughter continues to be the quiet center of their world. A daily reminder of why they chose to keep going when it would have been easier to walk away. In her laughter, they find healing. In her presence, they find clarity. She is not the solution to their past struggles, but the reason they face the future differently. As Matt and Jasmine move forward, they do so with a deeper understanding of each other and themselves. The storm that once defined their narrative has given way to something steadier. An imperfect but intentional life built on trust, patience, and love that has been tested and proven. Their forever is no longer an idea or a promise. It is something they live every day, quietly and deliberately together. With time, Matt and Jasmine began to understand that the most difficult part of their journey was not surviving the storm itself, but learning how to live once it had passed. The chaos of uncertainty had once consumed their relationship, giving them something to push against, something to constantly react to. Now, in the calm that followed, they were faced with a quieter challenge: sustaining growth without crisis. This phase required intention, discipline, and an honest redefinition of what partnership truly meant. Reality television had shaped public perception of their relationship, but it had also shaped them. Being filmed during moments of vulnerability forced both of them to confront behaviors they might have otherwise ignored. Watching themselves on screen was uncomfortable, sometimes painful, yet ultimately transformative. Matt saw how emotional distance could be mistaken for indifference. Jasmine saw how intensity, when left unchecked, could overwhelm rather than connect. These realizations did not come with instant solutions, but they opened the door to accountability as their lives moved further away from constant filming. They found freedom and privacy. Without the pressure of narrative arcs and producer prompts, they were able to exist simply as partners and parents. This shift allowed them to redefine success on their own terms. It was no longer about proving critics wrong or reshaping public opinion. It was about creating a home that felt safe, supportive, and emotionally honest for their child. Parenthood reshaped their identities in subtle but profound ways. Matt's sense of self expanded beyond provider and partner into something more nurturing. He became more attentive, more emotionally available, understanding that presence mattered more than perfection. Jasmine, in turn, found balance between her passionate nature and the steady patience motherhood demanded. She learned that strength could be quiet, that leadership within a family did not require control but trust. The concept of forever also evolved for them. Once imagined as a destination, a promise to be reached, became a daily practice. Forever was choosing to communicate even when it felt uncomfortable. It was choosing empathy over defensiveness, patience over reaction. It was understanding that love is not sustained by intensity alone, but by consistency. This realization grounded their relationship in something far more resilient than the highs and lows of emotion. Their story began to resonate differently with those who followed them closely. While some remained skeptical, others saw themselves reflected in the imperfections of Matt and Jasmine's journey. Messages of support replaced earlier criticism, particularly from viewers who understood how relationships evolve behind closed doors. The couple's openness about growth, therapy, and self-awareness reframed their narrative from one of dysfunction to one of transformation. Through it all, their daughter remained the quiet witness to their evolution. She grew in an environment shaped by conscious effort where apologies were modeled, affection was normalized, and emotional expression was encouraged rather than feared. Matt and Jasmine understood that the legacy they were building was not rooted in their past mistakes, but in how they chose to move forward. Every choice became an opportunity to do better than before. There were still moments of tension. Life continued to present challenges, career uncertainties, personal insecurities, and the ever-present question of how much of their lives to share publicly. But these moments no longer threatened the foundation of their relationship. Instead, they tested it, reinforcing the lessons learned during their most difficult days. The storm had taught them resilience. The calm taught them responsibility. In stepping into this new chapter, Matt and Jasmine no longer defined themselves by survival. They defined themselves by intention. Their love was no longer performative or reactive, but grounded in mutual respect and shared values. The journey that once seemed destined to fail had instead become a testament to growth under pressure and the power of choosing each other repeatedly. Even when it was hard, their forever moment was never about a single day or celebration. It was about recognition of how far they had come, how deeply they had changed, and how committed they were to continuing that work. It was about understanding that love, when nurtured through honesty and effort, can outlast even the fiercest storms. And as they look ahead, Matt and Jasmine do so not with certainty, but with confidence. Confidence in their ability to adapt, to communicate, and to grow. Confidence in the family they are building and the values they are passing on. Their story, once defined by turbulence, now stands as a reminder that even the most fragile beginnings can lead to something lasting forever for them. Is no longer a promise whispered in hope, it is a life lived day by day, together.